Mom, you're being judged too, not because you failed, but because you dared to mother differently. In a world that praises individuality yet punishes deviation, authentic motherhood has become an act of quiet rebellion. In the next few minutes, you'll discover why society judges mothers so harshly, what lies behind this endless criticism, and how to protect your peace, your energy, and your child from its weight. Every woman who becomes a mother steps into a culture that glorifies her strength while constantly measuring her worth. You're told to be calm, but never passive, strong, yet never intimidating, nurturing, but never needy. You're asked to work as if you have no children and raise your children as if you have no work. The paradox is relentless. No matter how you move, someone disapproves. The moment you follow your own rhythm, judgment begins. In the supermarket when your child cries, at the park when you refuse to force affection, online when you share an honest moment. The eyes are everywhere, demanding perfection, yet offering no understanding. But what if those eyes were not your enemy? What if every judgment you face simply exposes a deeper wound, the world's unresolved discomfort with the feminine? These judgments reveal nothing about your ability to mother. They only reflect how disconnected society has become from emotional intelligence, empathy, and true presence. We live in a culture that measures motherhood by performance instead of connection, that celebrates appearances over attunement. And this distortion creates an invisible war inside mothers, the struggle to appear perfect while feeling unseen. Research from the University of Michigan found that 7 out of 10 mothers feel judged at least once a week, most often by other women or relatives. Half admit to changing their behavior afterward, even when they believe they were right. It's not personal, it's cultural conditioning. For generations, the image of the ideal mother has been designed to serve society's expectations, not women's truth. That image has become a psychological cage, one that keeps mothers seeking approval instead of alignment. Neuroscience explains why judgment hurts so deeply. Each time you feel criticized, your brain activates the same neural pathways as physical pain. The amygdala, the brain's alarm system, can't distinguish between a predator and a disapproving glance. Your body floods with stress hormones. Your heart races, your breath shortens. Over time, this silent pattern rewires your nervous system into constant defense. You stop acting from authenticity and begin performing for safety. Awareness, however, is liberation. Once you understand that judgment isn't truth but noise, you begin to reclaim your frequency. Every opinion you absorb is filtered through someone else's unresolved history. You can observe it without internalizing it. That is where neuroscience meets spirituality, where biology and consciousness unite to restore your inner power. Through the lens of science, psychology, and spiritual wisdom, this video will teach you how to neutralize judgment before it enters your emotional field, how to shift from being evaluated to being embodied, from reacting to regulating, from guilt to groundedness. Because peace isn't something the world grants you. It's a physiological and spiritual state you can generate from within. As you listen, something inside you will begin to realign. Knowledge reshapes perception. Perception reshapes energy. You'll feel the difference between pressure and power, between defense and dignity. And by the end, you'll no longer shrink under the world's gaze. You'll stand taller, softer, wiser, anchored in the truth that motherhood was never about performance. It was always about presence. Chapter 2. The invisible weight of being a mother. No one truly prepares you for the silence that follows judgment. It's not the kind that fills a room, it's the one that fills your mind, the echo that lingers long after someone's words fade. Most mothers don't realize how heavy that silence becomes, how it shapes their tone, their posture, even the way they hold their child. It's a constant awareness that someone, somewhere, is watching and measuring every choice. Psychologists call this maternal self-surveillance, the constant monitoring of your own behavior under the invisible eyes of others. It's not paranoia, it's learned vigilance. A 2018 study by the University of Michigan revealed that 70% of mothers feel judged at least once a week, most often by relatives or other women. Nearly half admitted to changing their behavior afterward, even when they believed they were right. It's not personal, it's cultural conditioning. For generations, the image of the ideal mother has been designed to serve society's expectations, not women's truth. That image has become a psychological cage, one that keeps mothers seeking approval instead of alignment. Neuroscience explains why judgment hurts so deeply.
The amygdala, wired to detect threats, activates the same response it would if you were facing physical danger. Cortisol rises, your heartbeat quickens, your breathing tightens, and your body prepares to defend itself. It doesn't know the difference between a tiger and a disapproving glance. When this cycle repeats, the brain begins to associate motherhood itself with threat, making calm feel unsafe and constant alertness feel normal. This is why so many mothers live with invisible anxiety, even when everything looks fine from the outside. Technology intensifies this loop. Social media, built around dopamine feedback, teaches the brain to equate worth with approval. Every like delivers a fleeting sense of validation. Every comment, a potential wound. You share a picture of joy, and beneath it waits the tension of expectation, the fear of how others will interpret it. A single critical remark can activate the same pain circuits as physical harm. The algorithm becomes a mirror of collective judgment, rewarding performance over presence, image over authenticity. But judgment doesn't live only on screens. It appears in daily life, everywhere a mother stands. At the grocery store, when a toddler cries and strangers stare as if empathy were optional. At a family dinner, when an aunt questions your choices with a condescending smile. At school pickup, when another parent subtly implies their way is better. Each encounter sends the same coded message. There's a right way to mother, and you're probably getting it wrong. This belief is not modern, it's ancestral. It's the inheritance of centuries of patriarchy that measured women's worth by obedience and control. The modern world has only refined its disguise. Now it wears wellness slogans, productivity hacks, and curated feeds. The pressure remains the same: to be endlessly capable and emotionally composed while erasing your own needs. That's the invisible weight of motherhood, an emotional armor passed from generation to generation. Awareness is what breaks it. The moment you see how deeply you've been conditioned to seek permission, you begin to unravel the spell. You start noticing the moments when you silence your intuition to fit expectations. You realize that judgment is not a reflection of your inadequacy, but an echo of a culture still uncomfortable with feminine autonomy. And that realization, that quiet clarity, is liberation. Imagine if every mother stopped interpreting judgment as failure and started seeing it as evidence of cultural pain. the power dynamic would shift instantly. The pressure would dissolve into compassion. When you understand the invisible weight, you stop carrying what was never yours to hold. You reclaim your nervous system, your rhythm, your truth. And that's where transformation begins, not by fighting judgment, but by recognizing that you were never meant to live beneath it. Chapter 3. The psychology behind the judgment. Every judgment you receive is a mirror, not a verdict. What people point out in you often reveals what they can't face within themselves. Psychology calls this projection, but neuroscience goes deeper. It shows that when someone judges, their mirror neurons fire as if they were living that very behavior. Judgment, then, is not an observation, but a reflection of the judge's internal state. It's self-defense disguised as insight. Think about it. The confident mother triggers the woman who doubts her own voice. The gentle mother unsettles the one who was raised in harshness. The mother who honors her limits confronts those who were never allowed to have any. When others condemn your choices, they're not describing your truth. They're trying to make peace with theirs. It's easier to criticize what they see in you than to face what they've denied in themselves. Judgment becomes their way of regaining emotional control in a world that feels uncertain. Stanford research confirms this. When people feel powerless, their tendency to criticize rises dramatically. It creates a temporary illusion of authority, a momentary sense of superiority that soothes their fear of inadequacy. But this illusion comes at a cost. It erodes empathy, turns connection into comparison, and keeps communities of mothers fragmented when they were meant to support one another. The more disconnected we feel, the more judgment thrives. On a neurological level, internalizing judgment keeps your body in a chronic state of alarm. Each disapproving glance or harsh comment triggers a biochemical response. Adrenaline surges, the amygdala fires, and your logical mind temporarily shuts down. Over time, this repetition engraves itself into your brain as a learned reaction. You begin anticipating judgment before it even happens, modifying your tone, your posture, your decisions, not to express yourself, but to avoid conflict. You stop living freely and start living defensively. But here lies the turning point.
Awareness rewires everything. When you recognize that a judgment is merely an energetic signal, data filtered through someone else's nervous system, you deactivate its emotional charge. The prefrontal cortex, responsible for reasoning and perspective, re-engages. You regain choice. Instead of absorbing the projection, you simply observe it. That's what true sovereignty feels like. The ability to remain grounded while the world reacts around you. From this clarity, a new empathy emerges, not toward the words themselves, but toward the pain that created them. Every judgment is a confession of an unhealed wound. When you start seeing people through that lens, their criticism loses power. What once felt like an attack now sounds like an echo. Their noise cannot enter because your awareness has built a boundary, invisible yet unbreakable. This is the quiet evolution of consciousness. When you stop defending yourself, you stop feeding the energy of judgment. The cycle dissolves because you no longer play your part in it. The same people who once provoked you begin to lose their grip, not because they've changed, but because you have.
That's the beauty of regulation. When your frequency stabilizes, chaos no longer finds resonance in you. A mother anchored in self-awareness is untouchable. She doesn't raise her voice to be heard. Her presence speaks louder than words. She doesn't need to convince anyone of her worth. Her calm becomes the proof. Neuroscience calls it self-regulation. Spirituality calls it alignment. Both describe the same transformation, the shift from reacting to remembering. You don't silence judgment, you transcend it. You still walk in the same world, but now nothing sticks. That is the invisible armor of consciousness, the quiet, radiant strength of an awakened mother. Chapter 4. The Spiritual Perspective, Breaking the Cycle. Judgment only takes root where guilt still lives. That's the truth few mothers are ever told. The more guilt you release, the less the world can wound you. When guilt dissolves, judgment passes through like wind against glass. Spiritually and neurologically, the pattern is the same. Guilt and judgment operate on the same frequency. They feed each other. When you stop nurturing guilt, you disconnect from the collective current of comparison that keeps mothers striving instead of being. Neville Goddard taught, "What you assume within, the world reflects without." This isn't poetic philosophy, it's the physics of consciousness. When you assume guilt, the world offers mirrors to confirm it. When you assume peace, it reflects peace back to you. The outer world cannot resist the vibration of the inner. That's why awareness is the greatest protection a mother can cultivate. Awareness changes chemistry. Consciousness alters biology. The more aware you are, the less reactive your nervous system becomes, and the quieter the world grows around you. In neuroscience, this harmony is called coherence, a measurable alignment between the brain, the heart, and the body. It's not abstract, it's physiological. A coherent mother radiates safety through her energy field. Her calm heart rhythm subtly synchronizes with her child's, regulating their breathing, their tone, their sense of trust. You can feel the difference in her home. Silence becomes comfort, not tension. Stillness feels alive, not empty. The environment itself begins to mirror her internal peace. But achieving coherence amid chaos is not about control. It's about awareness. The next time you feel judged, resist the reflex to explain yourself. Instead, pause. Breathe. Notice where the judgment lands inside your body. Perhaps a tightness in the chest, a heat in the throat, a flutter in the stomach. That awareness interrupts the body's defense loop. Name what you feel: shame, anger, fear, and you'll instantly shift from reaction to regulation. You've brought the emotion from the primitive brain into consciousness. The moment you observe it, it begins to dissolve. Now add intention. Whisper softly, "I choose peace over approval." These words aren't just affirmations, they're neural commands. They tell your brain that safety is no longer dependent on validation. They tell your body that calm is the new baseline. Each repetition rewires your emotional field, teaching your system that peace is possible even when the world is loud. Over time, your physiology follows your faith. The practice becomes instinct. You'll notice changes without trying. Conversations that once drained you lose their charge. People who used to provoke you no longer find resonance. You begin to feel a subtle distance between yourself and the noise, not detachment, but clarity. This is the foundation of spiritual intelligence, the ability to remain deeply present without being entangled. Awareness doesn't isolate you, it liberates you. Every moment you choose peace, you teach it to your child.
Children don't learn calm through words, but through nervous system attunement. They absorb your state as truth. When you breathe instead of react, you show them what regulation looks like. When you forgive yourself, you give them permission to grow without shame. The ripple effect is infinite. One regulated mother recalibrates an entire family. Spiritual alignment doesn't mean escaping reality. It means transforming your relationship with it. You no longer need others to validate your worth because you've embodied it. You no longer interpret judgment as a threat because you've transcended the frequency where it exists. Peace becomes your protection. It doesn't resist darkness, it outshines it. That's how the cycle of judgment ends, not through argument or defense, but through the quiet radiance of a mother who remembers who she is. Chapter 5. Redefining Success in Motherhood. Modern motherhood has been turned into a stage performance, a constant act of proving, pleasing, and perfecting. The applause comes as likes, comments, and validation, while the silence in between feels like failure. Somewhere along the way, the real meaning of motherhood, presence, intuition, and connection was buried beneath productivity. Society has taught mothers to measure success by how much they do instead of how deeply they feel. Yet both science and spirit agree. True success in motherhood is not about doing more, it's about being more connected. Neuroscience reveals that a child's emotional blueprint is built inside the mother's nervous system long before it becomes behavior. Through her tone of voice, her breathing, her gaze, a child learns what safety feels like. When a mother is caught in performance mode, constantly adjusting herself to meet external expectations, her child unconsciously learns vigilance instead of trust. Harvard research on maternal attunement showed that babies whose mothers were emotionally present and self-regulated recovered from stress 40% faster than those raised in distracted or inconsistent environments. That's not luck, it's biology guided by presence. Presence doesn't demand perfection, it asks for awareness. It's the moment you stop to breathe before reacting, the way you listen without trying to fix, the patience to sit with discomfort without rushing to erase it. These are small, quiet choices, invisible to most, but they are the foundation of secure attachment. However, when judgment seeps into the mother's psyche, presence fragments. The mind loops through invisible scripts. Am I doing enough? Should I be more like her? What will they think? These mental spirals drain attention away from connection. The mother's coherence falters, and the child's nervous system, tuned to hers, mirrors that same dissonance. Success in motherhood, therefore, cannot be measured by output, it's measured by atmosphere, the emotional climate that surrounds a child every day. It's in the warmth they feel when you enter the room, the steadiness of your voice when they make a mistake, the softness in your eyes when they seek comfort. Those are the invisible lessons that shape their future relationships, their resilience, their capacity to love. A conscious mother redefines success not by asking, "What did I accomplish today?" but "What energy did I bring into our space?" Psychologically, this shift is called internal referencing, redirecting the source of validation from the outer world to the inner compass. Spiritually, it's remembrance, returning to your natural state before the world told you who to be. When you release the need to perform, you begin to parent from truth. You forgive yourself for not meeting impossible standards, and in doing so, you model self-compassion for your child. When you honor your limits, you teach them that boundaries are sacred, not selfish. When you rest without guilt, you show them that worth isn't earned through exhaustion. A conscious mother doesn't strive for flawlessness, she strives for presence. She knows that even rupture can become repair when met with awareness. She stops chasing admiration and begins embodying authenticity. Her power no longer depends on perception. She moves through her day guided by alignment, not applause. Spiritually, this alignment is sacred labor. It's the alchemy of turning chaos into consciousness, of transmuting pressure into presence. Each intentional breath recalibrates not only your home, but the collective field of motherhood itself. One regulated mother shifts the vibration of those around her. Her calm becomes contagious. Her gentleness ripples outward, creating quiet revolutions in hearts she'll never meet.
Redefining success in motherhood is not about lowering expectations, it's about changing the metric entirely. Success is not in the applause of others, but in the peace that remains when the applause fades. It's in knowing that your presence, steady, imperfect, real, is enough.
Because in the end, motherhood was never meant to impress. It was meant to heal. Chapter 6. Anchoring the learning. If you're still here, something within you has already shifted. Awareness itself rewires the brain. Every minute spent listening, reflecting, and observing your own reactions has changed your neural pathways. That's the power of neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to reshape itself through conscious experience. Insight becomes structure. Understanding becomes chemistry. The simple act of awareness begins to dissolve old conditioning and create space for a new state of being. Notice how your body feels in this moment. Maybe your shoulders are lighter, your breath slower, your thoughts softer. That's not imagination, it's integration. The nervous system recalibrates when perception changes. What once felt threatening now feels neutral. The stress wasn't caused by judgment itself, but by the meaning you attached to it. When that meaning transforms, your physiology follows. The mind and body are no longer bracing for attack. You're entering coherence, the state where understanding replaces reactivity and peace becomes your natural rhythm. You are no longer the mother who absorbs every opinion as truth. You are becoming the observer, the one who witnesses without collapsing. That's the heart of conscious motherhood. Living from the inside out, guided by intuition rather than expectation. It's not detachment, it's maturity. The external world may still demand, still comment, still judge, but your response has evolved. You no longer interpret noise as guidance. You filter experience through awareness, not anxiety. Now imagine bringing this state into daily life. When someone questions your choices, you no longer justify, you breathe. When comparison creeps in as you scroll through curated images, you remember that what you see is performance, not reality. You choose not to participate in illusions that steal your peace. That single choice creates neurological distance between you and the collective pressure. It's not resistance, it's self-regulation. You're no longer living for approval. You're living from alignment. With every repetition of this awareness, your brain strengthens the neural pathways associated with calm and clarity. The limbic system, which governs emotion, begins to trust the prefrontal cortex, the center of reasoning, to take the lead. The more you practice, the easier it becomes. Peace stops being a momentary escape and becomes your baseline. It's the new normal. Your child feels this too. Long before they understand words like consciousness or regulation, they experience your energy as truth. They learn what love feels like through your breathing, your tone, your gaze. Your calm becomes their compass. Your nervous system becomes their first teacher. That's how emotional intelligence is transmitted, not through lessons, but through presence. Every moment you choose awareness over reaction, you're offering your child a nervous system that knows safety. Take a second to recognize what that means. You've already started dismantling generations of inherited anxiety and guilt. By noticing your patterns, you've interrupted them. By breathing before reacting, you've broken the loop. You've begun rewriting the legacy of motherhood, one grounded in self-regulation instead of sacrifice. That's not small. That's evolution. Now let's seal this transformation. Type in the comments, "I choose peace over approval." Don't see it as a phrase, see it as a signal. When you write it, you're giving your subconscious a new command, encoding peace into your neural network.
Each repetition deepens the imprint. Over time, your body will remember it, even when your mind forgets. That's how healing becomes habit. This realization is proof that this journey has already been worth it. You came searching for answers, and you found awareness. You arrived carrying tension, and now you carry understanding. Your perception has shifted, and that shift changes everything. You can't unsee what you now know, that your peace was never outside you. It was always waiting for your permission to return. Chapter 7. The next time someone judges you, pause. Feel the silence between their words and your breath. That space is your power. In that single moment, you decide whether their perception becomes your truth. Judgment will always exist, from strangers in passing, from family with good intentions, even from other mothers projecting their own pain. But judgment only becomes suffering when you accept it as yours. You don't have to defend yourself, argue, or retreat. You only have to remember, their opinion belongs to them, not to you.
You are not just raising a child, you are raising consciousness. You are part of a generation of mothers ending centuries of inherited guilt and exhaustion. For so long, women have been asked to give endlessly, to love without boundaries, to endure without rest. They were told that good mothers lose themselves. You are here to end that story. You are here to show that love doesn't require self-erasure, that nurturing can coexist with individuality, and that peace is not a luxury, it's a lineage. Every time you choose awareness over reaction, you heal more than yourself. You soften the energy that future mothers will be born into. Your calm becomes a reference point for your child's nervous system, a living memory of what safety feels like. Your self-respect becomes their template for dignity. You don't need to tell them how to regulate. You show them through the stillness of your presence. This is how generational healing happens, not through grand gestures, but through the quiet rhythm of coherence repeated every day. Motherhood is not about perfection, it's about congruence. It's about being able to stand in the middle of chaos and still feel anchored in peace. When you stop chasing validation, you start embodying authenticity. And when you live authentically, you stop transmitting fear disguised as love. You become the interruption in the pattern, the moment history shifts course. That is sacred work. It may never trend, never be recognized, never be applauded, but it transforms humanity one breath at a time. You are already enough. You always were. You don't need to prove your devotion through exhaustion or your love through sacrifice. Your child doesn't need perfection. They need presence. They don't remember spotless floors or flawless meals. They remember the sound of your laughter, the softness in your touch, the calm in your energy when they feel overwhelmed. Presence is the memory that becomes identity. If these words resonate, share them, not for numbers or reach, but for connection. Somewhere another mother is sitting in silence believing she's failing. She needs to hear this truth, that she is seen, that she is doing enough, that she can return to peace anytime she chooses. When one mother awakens, she gives silent permission for others to do the same. That's how consciousness spreads, not through sermons, but through resonance, one calm nervous system at a time. Judgment may never disappear, but it will lose its influence. You can't control the gaze of the world, but you can decide how deeply it reaches your core. You can train your mind to interpret judgment not as threat, but as evidence that you are evolving beyond conformity. You can remind yourself that peace is not the absence of conflict, it's the presence of alignment. So breathe. Let your breath carry you back to yourself. Feel your chest expand, your heartbeat slow, your thoughts soften. That rhythm, that steady silence within you, is the new story of motherhood. The story where calm is power, softness is strength, and peace is proof of wisdom. You've changed, and because you've changed, the story changes with you. The world may not notice right away, but your child will. And in their calm, in their confidence, in their capacity to love without fear, you'll see the reflection of everything you healed. Judgment no longer defines you. You've outgrown the frequency where it lives. You've remembered who you are. And that remembrance is the beginning of everything.